It's been more than a week since the census enumerators have been in the field. Locked gates and a lack of understanding of the exercise are but some of the challenges they encounter. Well, to give an update on the latest is the Namibia Statistics Agency Statistician General, Alex Shimuafeni. Good evening, Alex, and always a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Good evening, Blanche. Thank you for having me.
Well, it has been about a week now that your team has been in the field, as we said, but however, among the population or members of the public, there seems to be a confusion with regard to whether this is actually mapping, the exercise is actually mapping, or it's a survey. So can you please just explain?
Yes. In fact, when we started on the 18th of September, that was up to the 24th of September, that was listing. Basically saying that what we have mapped is up to 2021, we needed to see whether the houses are still in existence, and then we are obtaining the numbers of the head of household, who will be the one to give the responses to the interview, or he or she can nominate a person who can do the interview. And then from the night of the 24th, which is the census reference night,
Yes.
we were now starting to count with the institutions and the travelers, institutions like people in hotels, in prisons, holding cells, those who started the night of the 24th of September.
So those ones you would categorize as maybe specialized group of...
It's a special population, yes,
special
including
population,
the homeless people. That's correct. And then from the morning of the 25th of September, going through to this week Friday, we are now doing the actual interviews of the census. That's really the process, the two processes.
And then some of the other concerns that household or the public have raised include just one question being asked, that is, how many are you inside this house? And then the next thing is the enumerator allegedly telling members of the public that no, we will come back. So is this also part of the exercise itself, or is there a differentiation that you can share with the public?
Yeah, that was the listing, which is the just to ask, and it's not even how many people is, what are the usual members of a household, people who live there in a year for more than 6 months. That was the listing, yeah. And then thereafter, the actual enumeration was now who slept on the reference night, who slept in the household. That was now what we did from the 24th up to now.
Now, Mr. Shimuafeni, an exercise like this, judging from the explanations that you are also sharing here, would require continuous education alongside the main exercise itself. So have you made provision for education also, or to continue on the sidelines of the census?
Yes, we do. Just talking for myself, yesterday I had 2 radio interviews. Today, before I came here, I had 2 radio interviews as well, and then at 6 o'clock I was at Daily Roundup with Nina, and then now I'm here. We continue. We have colleagues that are tomorrow morning also engaging the media. It's a continuous process that because people, we all know from the media, not everyone will be able to catch the news every day. So we do continue doing that. And also what is very important is also word of mouth, people calling us, asking us questions. What is very interesting is that people will call me while they are being enumerated and ask whether, is this right, what the people are asking. Yes, it's a continuous process.
Mr. Shimuafeni, also the challenges that I've mentioned are locked gates, especially considering that it's private property and people may, or the owners may have questions in this regard. It's right that you just pointed out that the media campaign on the site is also ongoing, but in an instance where your enumerator is standing right in front of this private property and is being locked out.
Yeah, that is a challenge. What we try to do is, especially from the commercial farms, we had engaged the Namibia Agricultural Union. The challenge is to give a fixed time from the enumerator side to say what time will be there, because when we come to one household, that interview might take longer than the other household. But what we normally do in instances like that, we have what we call a callback card that we normally leave there in front of the gate or so. If it's a gated community, like townhouses, we can also leave it with the management through the security that is there, so that people can say when is it that they are available. In the CBD or in towns or urban areas, you normally have people working during the day, and then they will only be able to do those interviews after 5 o'clock. So people can have the interviews, let's say up to 9 o'clock, 9:30, but we don't want people to go beyond 10 o'clock because it's becoming too late. They also need to be fresh for tomorrow. Yeah, so we try to make those arrangements. If you say you'll be able to be lunchtime at home, and the enumerators can come that time.
And then do you have more resources? Has the NSA budgeted for all these exercises, seeing that in an instance like that where a person can only be available after hours, obviously it requires the enumerator to be there after hours?
Yeah, typically people working after hours, they need to be paid overtime, but what we are saying, the enumerators are also working flexi hours. When you don't have anyone to enumerate during the day, they can take time off. They can start the day early as maybe 6 o'clock, and by 8 o'clock they can go back home to rest or so, and then maybe start again in the afternoon. So those are the flexibility which is in their contract. We all know that overtime payment is quite expensive exercise, so we allowed for flexibility.
And the teams are well equipped. Now, Mr. Shimuafeni, just before I let you go, there were also reports of members of the public being fined should they deliberately decide not to be counted, 50,000 upwards, or imprisonment in this regard. For you just to clarify that part for us.
Yes, I've seen a social media poster with my picture and that talking about that fine, which is a 50,000 Namibia dollars or 5 years imprisonment or both. And the caption was saying that since when are certain people lawmakers? It's not that we are the lawmakers. The law is already there. And the Statistics Act, Section 43, speaks about administrative penalties that can be given. And those penalties are the 50,000 or the 5 years imprisonment or both. So all we are saying is that just comply with the law, then you stay out of trouble. And our objective is not really to employ the law. We want the data. So it's easy as that, just provide us with the data. We are busy with a case of persons who just blatantly refuse to give the data. We were busy with our legal team to get that ready. I believe by tomorrow, if it's not during the day, maybe in the afternoon, we need to save this so that people can know that if we don't do it, then we are also not complying with the law, because otherwise we'll allow everyone to do what he or she wants to.
So with all these challenges that your teams are experiencing, and also NSA itself, are you still confident that you will manage to count the entire population, seeing that data or statistics in general are very important in a development process?
Yeah, from the look of things, unless something drastically comes up to disturb the progress of the teams, we should be able to finalize by end of this week or even by the weekend. But should we not be able to finalize by mid next week, we'll be able to have that. I'm that confident that we should be able to finalize that. Now, if we should we not be finalizing, we will know exactly those few people who are not complying. We will know exactly who they are, where they are, and we'll be able to. We are in discussion as we are speaking even now that all you need to do is to comply. We don't want you to be on the wrong side of the law.
Of the law, yes.
Yes, and on top of that there were people asking why we are asking certain questions, apparently whether we have a stove or so.
So,
is,
just an example of the questions. I've not been counted yet, Mr. Shimuafeni. So, what are some of the questions that one should look out for? Maybe
yeah.
some questions may be uncomfortable.
There is not, as far as I'm concerned, there are not questions that are uncomfortable, but the one that I was just about to say is the one of people asking whether we have a stove or microwave. What people don't understand, this is a mentality of me thinking I'm in a air-conditioned office and comfortable house. We tend to forget that there are people who use open fire for cooking. These are the comparisons that we want to look at in terms of development also. That's what you want to look at. And some of these questions are also international standards, so that if you want to compare yourself with whether you're talking about developed countries or developing countries. And then other questions for female at the age of above, I believe, is it 14? I'm talking under correction. Fertility questions that might ask things like, what was your age at the first live birth that you gave?
Okay.
But those we gave privacy also for people to answer those only with them with the enumerator,
Oh, right.
not in public.
All right, then. Well, thank you so much for that update, Mr. Shimuafeni. I'm sure you will continue to educate the public from the side of NSA and as well as the update here in our studios. Thank you so much.
That's correct. Thank you.
All right, Alex Shimuafeni, who is the Statistician General at the Namibia Statistics Agency, sharing an update on the ongoing census.